Thank you very much. Deputy Catherine Connolly.
5 minutes, I think, is my time. Minister, I don't know whether you did it deliberately or inadvertently, but your bill has fed into the narrative that there are serial objectors, and the reckless comments from TDs here today is unacceptable. There is absolutely no evidence presented to us in the Dáil that serial objectors have led, and indeed the irony is not lost on me. On the day that you published the bill was the day that the Supreme Court published their judgment holding in favour of the Friends of the Environment and quashing the climate mitigation plan. Let me say that I represent Galway West. It's a rural community and the city as well. I am completely behind a sustainable industry. McKinnon, who the government commissioned and he reported back in November 2019, hasn't been mentioned in your speech or by a single TD here today. Let me say that he said, if these principles, on page 20 of his report, if these principles are put into practice, they should go a considerable way to creating a vibrant, confident and sustainable forest industry which enjoys support not just across the sector but from community and environmental groups who can benefit and take pleasure from a more diverse woodland cover in Ireland. I fully support that. That is the expert that was commissioned by the last government. In addition, we've declared a biodiversity climate emergency and a biodiversity emergency. And McKinnon, who you commissioned, set out the issues, about 20 or 21 issues, and then he went out to set out the recommendations, and then he set out the steps forward. And he had 2 steps forward for you, and time precludes me from going into it, but specific onus on the government to do something, to have a meeting by March, and to have the Forestry Programme Implementation Group should be the forum that would push this ahead, and he has a second one. And then in relation to the issues raised, none of them had to do with serial objectors. Now, it's difficult in a week where we're listening to demands from the media, which I agree with, that reports should be based on facts. And in last night, when we had the most despicable so-called debate between the President of America and the future President of America, hopefully, and facts don't come into it, that we inadvertently or otherwise are doing the same in this stall. We need a vibrant forestry industry. I'm acutely aware of the value of it to rural areas. I'm acutely aware that 12,000 jobs, and there should be a lot more if we were doing it right. And you come in and yesterday with your speech and you failed to mention McKinnon, and I don't wish to be personal in any way, and I'm really appealing to you as a Green Minister to show leadership and not to get entrapped with the department, which is really under pressure. I'm not saying it's under pressure, McKinnon is saying it's under pressure. What did he identify as problematic? Significant hurdles remain if the government's planting target is to be met. The perceived lack of political priority given to forestry is a major concern. Repeat it again, lack of political commitment and priority. There's a need for an overarching statement on the government's policy in relation to forestry. Forestry should not be the sole preserver of one department. Let's go on to the department itself. Low morale has become endemic, and more resources, along with improvement of the iForest system, could help. We need additional inspectors. Inspectors feel isolated and insufficiently supported. Concerns of many inspectors over the increasing and more complex workload are accepted. The perceived complexities over compliance with the Habitats Directive were constantly raised. Not enough pre-planning meetings. The inadequacy of applications by those putting in an application. On many occasions, the applications weren't sufficient. And on it goes, better consultation, pre-planning meetings and so on. And then you come in with a bill that feeds into a narrative that objectives are the cause, when repeatedly the governments have failed to put in resources to help those in the department to do the job properly, failed to have any feedback and to work on that feedback and provide sufficient training. And you come in here with that and reduce reduce the public participation in the guise of improving a system that is completely and utterly false. Now, I have a great difficulty with that in the week that's in it. Tomorrow is Plant a Tree. We'll be telling the children and the schools of this country to plant a tree. In 120 years, we've gone from 2% to 11%. That's some progress, isn't it? 9% in 120 years. And we set up a system that's geared to fail. And when it fails, we don't look at why it fails. We blame people who put in submissions. And we base that, no figures in your speech, no figures from any of the TDs that spoke here today and refer to serial objectors. I understand that the appeals are as low as 1%. There are different type of appeals that you know better than I. Appeals in relation to afforestation, in relation to felling, in relation to aerial spraying. No breakdown, no analysis whatsoever. Now, at this point, Minister, I'd ask you to walk out of your imprisonment in the department and let's help the department to do their job right. I can't think of any better way to put it than to say you can't see the forest for the trees in this situation and blaming the wrong people. And go back to the Supreme Court judgment, and I welcome that they had the courage to take the government to court and get the mitigation plan quashed. Repeatedly, the Supreme Court, the High Court and all of the other courts have pointed to the importance of the Trinity in relation to planning laws. And who are the Trinity? The authority, the developer and the public. And without the public, we would have absolutely no declaration of a climate change, no recognition of a biodiversity. Have I 50 seconds left? Is that? Yeah. So to stand here is doubly duplicitous and disingenuous to allow the blame. And I would ask you to correct that in your statement. I would ask you to stand up to the TDs who are taking the easy way. I am standing up for my rural area. I believe in a vibrant, sustainable woodland forestry policy. And read McKinnon and see what he says in his 21 issues and his 26 recommendations and his 2 steps forward. And only one point is in relation to introducing fees. Finally, it is also disingenuous to say you're aligning it with the planning. The planning has a whole set of laws and it has an independent appeals board. You are not doing that here. You're a míle mágad ceann comhairle.